So the New York Times siding with Chinese slave labor against, it looks like, American workers who've been flatlining for the last 20 years.
Laura, we have lost in the state of Missouri 50,000 jobs to China just in the last 20 years. I don't recall the New York Times shedding too many tears about that. But now we're supposed to feel sorry for these workers in China who, by the way, as you said, are being treated like slaves. Here's the issue. President Trump is absolutely right to go after China. He's absolutely right to make sure that we can rebuild our manufacturing capacity, to make sure we can protect our jobs, and to stop China from dumping their exports into our markets and destroying entire industries. They've already taken millions of our jobs, Laura. We cannot let this go on any longer. And the president, he gets it.
Hold on one second. We're about to get to the bottom of this, ladies and gentlemen. This don't make no sense whatsoever. Welcome to the Dark Waters channel, where we explore mysteries, figure out the truth, dive into politics, and anything else you want to know about. That's what we're doing over here, baby. Let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, the one and only James Williams, Dark Waters, and he's Zach. Yes. The old saying goes, trade war, currency war, world war, or currency war, trade war, world war. I believe it is currency war, then trade war, then world war, because between United States and China, we have been in a currency war for quite a while. Now we are officially into the phase of a trade war, and then what comes after that is a hot war. Why is this important? Why am I saying this? All this hinges on what President Donald Trump said in the Oval Office yesterday about we got weapons. We got weapons. Nobody knows what the hell they are. We're a very powerful nation. We're a very, very powerful nation. Nobody knows what the hell these weapons are. And you wonder why the man says something like that, because he knows the natural progression. If you can't beat me in a currency war and you can't beat me in a trade war, then you're going to say, well, we're going to go to war with you. And he's letting China and Iran, and you notice Russia's been mighty damn quiet. Has anybody noticed how quiet Russia has been? If I'm not mistaken, Putin came out yesterday and said, when a wise monkey sees two tigers fighting, the monkey sits back and watches. If I'm not mistaken, that was his exact statement. In other words, I don't want none of that smoke that's coming down the pipeline. I got enough of my problems with the United States of America as it is. But I'll say this about Russia. They're pretty smart, pretty smart. They are people of war. Unlike Americans, we're not people of war because we haven't had very many wars on our soil. So we're not people battled, hardened for war. The Russians are people of war. They were founded in war, sustained in war, and they do not mind war. It's a very dangerous time, absolutely, in the United States of America. It's the best of time and it's the worst of times. But getting into the tariff thing, China decided they're going to respond by trying to raise tariffs again. And it's the dumbest decision they could make, but I'm excited. And I need you to understand why this is exciting for you as an American citizen. Because all the cheap goods that come out of China, yeah, you won't be able to buy stuff on Amazon for pennies on a dollar, and that'll slow down. But if you're not a lazy, low down, no good SOB, you'll sit there and say, hey, what have I been buying out of China that I can manufacture my damn self? Or you'll sit there and say, well, the company's going to leave China and they're going to go to someplace else and they're going to be desperate for orders. But I'll show you this. But let's start with this news here.
This announcement that China will increase the tariff rate on American goods coming into China to 125% effective Saturday comes off the back of a clarification from the White House that the increased rate that Donald Trump announced of 125% on Chinese goods coming into the US is in fact in addition to the 20% he'd already implemented earlier in this presidency. So that's bringing the total on Chinese goods coming into the States up to 145%. So this tit for tat continuing and continuing to escalate. Now, in the statement put out by China's State Council Tariff Commission, there is quite an interesting statement. They say that even if the US continues...
Before we get too far in this video, I'm sorry, guys. Let me make sure that this audio is picking up. All right, I believe I fixed the audio issue. Let's get back to it. I didn't want you guys listening to double audio like you were just subjected to in the last video, and I didn't discover it until the end. I thought I fixed it. It's fixed. So here we go. They're talking about there's no winners in the tariff war, and China is talking about, hey, we're going to go tit for tat with America in tariffs. Now, here's the reason why China must do this. You need to understand that the Chinese Communist government is, you don't hear about the usurping and the drama inside the Chinese Communist Party like you hear it in America. The reason why America has these globalist opposition parties to the president's, the office of president, is because China has over time bought out politicians, bought out districts, and partnered with people like Soros. Whether you believe it or not, that's the truth. So we have so many different people or organizations influencing American politics. It's why when the other day when Donald Trump came out and rallied the markets to crash shorts, which I can't believe, this guy in the chat's like, dude, you an idiot. Let me pause right here. Dude in the chat came out and told me, he was like, well, you don't know what you're talking about because, there's no way that this happened because people are in the credit swaps. You trying to tell me that you speak for every institution, for institution like BlackRock and Vanguard. And BlackRock and Vanguard, they only use credit swaps. It's just, anyway, it's amazing because sometimes people shouldn't type because you can only articulate a certain portion of what that brain has said, and you speak from your experience, not from any research. Anyway, nonetheless, the point I'm making is this. Just like America has all these influences and these problems, China has the same thing. The issue that Xi Jinping has right now is he cannot be perceived as being weak to his people because he's a god to his people. This is what the problem is when you a man and they portray you as a god. God can't lose. So he can't back down and negotiate. He got to go tit for tat. Boom, ba-boom, 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 because you're God to the Chinese people. The party is God. And so he's in a corner. So when you see them come out and say, well, Xi Jinping put himself in a corner, no, he was put in a corner for a reason. He's a god to his people by law. It's an emperor. God. God came back down, be seen backing down to the United States government. And I'm going to show you what's happening to the Chinese God.
To impose higher tariffs, it will no longer make.
By the way, it's a terrible thing when a man believes he's God.
Make economic sense. They say at the current tariff level, there is no market acceptance for US goods exported to China. If the US continues to play the tariff numbers game, China will ignore it. It does go on to hedge a little bit, saying that if the US insists on continuing to substantially infringe on Chinese interests, Beijing will resolutely counterattack and fight to the end. So suggesting there that, Beijing might stop with the tit for tat on the tariffs, but there are, of course, other ways that Beijing can inflict pain on the American economy, even if it's only symbolic. For example, we've heard that Beijing plans to now reduce the already rather small number of American films that are imported into China every year. So there aren't many American films going into China every year, although it is a hugely lucrative market.
Man, I hope Hollywood dies.
For those that do get in. However, this is, of course, something that really...
All right, we just wanted that for context, right? Wanted it for context. So, it's so many moving pieces and parts to this puzzle. I'm going to try and remain calm and hit on them, right? But it's hard tonight, jump down a rabbit hole. All right, so we got China. We got America. Trade war. Trump hit them with tariffs. They come back and say they're going to raise their tariffs again. You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. Now let's go and see what's being said in China. Let's see what's being said in China from out the mouths of Chinese business owners, not the stupid American media. Let's see what the Chinese business owners are saying.
even worse situation. For our factory, to keep the employees, the boss is desperately selling off inventory, hoping that more customers from Yiwu International Trade City can help us with orders. So the pressure from the inventory will definitely fall on us salespeople. Trump's drastic move will only force Chinese businesses to explore other markets, like Europe, South America, and the Middle East.
Production has stopped. Earlier, some followers were asking about whether the U.S. tariff reduction affects us. As you know, we mainly do business with the U.S., and that's 90% of our income. As of yesterday, the U.S. tariff has increased to 104%, and the direct impact on us is that all export business to the U.S. has stopped. Even original equipment manufacturing clients told us to stop production. All the goods at the port need to be returned, and the losses are incalculable.
With
the U.S. increasing tariffs on Chinese goods by 104%, the garment trade might collapse directly. Factory orders are plummeting, machines are idle, workers are unemployed. Accepting orders means losing money. Not accepting them means waiting to go bankrupt. Caught between a rock and a hard place. Foreign trade is shifting to domestic sales, but the already intense competition in domestic garment market will only get worse, and prices will be cut to the extreme. The profit margin on a piece of clothing may be thinner than paper. Textile factories, fabric factories, garment factories, wholesale garment stalls, clothing stores, every part of the industry is being dragged into a price war. What about the consumers? In the short term, clothes will be cheaper, but the fabric might be worse, and the fit might not be right. After a few wears, they'll lose shape, and you'll feel like you wasted your money and lost trust. In the long term, if there's no profit in the clothing industry, other industries will be the same. Factories and companies with no profit will have to shut down. More people will lose their jobs, and fewer people will have income. Money will be harder to earn, and fewer people will be able to spend. Nobody will buy clothes, cars, or other things. What can we do? The workshop is now full of foreign goods, and we still don't know if they'll be shipped out or if the other side will even accept them.
This is the situation right now. The factory has stopped production, and over 100 people are laid off on the spot.
All U.S. orders have been stopped today. We don't understand how these tariff increases and reductions will affect us, but it's clear that many people can't continue their business. The streets are emptier, and many people have lost their jobs. The first to be affected are the workers. With no foreign trade orders, the factory can't run, and the first ones to be laid off are the workers. You might earn 2,000 yuan this month, then 1,000 yuan the next, and the month after that, you'll pack up and go home because there's no work. It's just that simple and that real. Guys, let's just lie down and watch.
Now, here's the thing about propaganda. You are witnessing, if you know where to go look, ladies and gentlemen, you witness, this is what happened to America. When the giant sucking sound of jobs left America and went to China. This is what happened in America. And now it's happening in China. I want to be clear. I want to be 100% clear. I ain't celebrating nobody losing their job. I'm not celebrating anybody going into homelessness. I don't want to see people struggle. That's inhumane. But at the same time, I say but, because the word but negates everything that comes before it. When you add the word and to a word, it answers. This is very important when you pray. If you praying something to God and you say but, be careful what you say next, because you just negated everything that came prior to the word but. You learn these things when you actually pray. But China is not my responsibility. I'm concerned about the people of America. My brothers and sisters in the Appalachian Mountain, my brothers and sisters in Houston and Dallas and in Colorado, that we have a sustainable future that is not based on an economy that's centered around and solely relying upon the United States government, which means our economy is not based around a bureaucracy, because we came out of a bureaucracy and we saw what happened from 2020 to 2024 because of the power of the bureaucracy. We need manufacturing. And the problem that we run into right now is Wall Street is pissed because in order for Wall Street to be as strong as they are, there cannot be a manufacturing base in America because they make their profits from exploiting these people. Exploiting them. And I don't care what nobody says, that's exploitation. It truly is. I mean, you making something for the people getting paid 40 cents an hour, 50 cents an hour, and then you get an iPhone and you sell an iPhone into a market for $1,800. If you've seen the Apple factories in China where they have the suicide nets in the dormitories, where these people are living in a dormitory and they try and escape and jump out of windows and kill themselves, it's exploitation. It's, in many ways, it's slavery. And the funniest thing is the Democratic Party always says, well, we need reparations for slavery, and the white man put people in slavery, and you supporting slavery all over the damn world. I mean, the hypocrisy of these people is just, it's insane. But the news media in America is going to say a lot of different things. Let's listen to what people are saying in China.
These street vendors are all business owners. The trade war is real, and it's already impacting the economy. What effect does the tariff have on ordinary people?
First, I work in finance. A couple of days ago, I asked our export clients how the tariffs were affecting them. They told me that 90% of their business has been suspended.
The U.S. tariff club swings over many countries, and last-minute changes have occurred. On the afternoon of April 9th, Trump announced that the high tariffs would be temporarily delayed. For the next 90 days, only the 10% benchmark tariff would be imposed, but the 104% tariff on China wasn't removed. It was instead increased to 125%. China retaliated with an 84% tariff. The U.S.-China tariff war has caused widespread distress across China. Guangdong, as the core province of China's foreign trade, relies heavily on exports, especially to the U.S. market. According to 2024 data, Guangdong accounts for 20.8% of the total national import and export volume, showing its leading role in foreign trade.
The U.S.-China tariff battle is a huge blow to Guangdong. There's no doubt that Guangdong is the most affected, and it's possible that Jiangsu's GDP will surpass Guangdong's in the coming years. Guangdong is a province most reliant on foreign trade, and the U.S. accounts for the largest portion. Guangdong's rapid rise is largely driven by trade with the U.S. and the West. Guangdong's geographical location makes it naturally suited for foreign trade. The Wuling Mountains to the north block the inland, while the plains to the south open up to the world. It's as if Guangdong is saying, I don't want to trade with the inland, I want to trade with the world. Guangdong is China's foreign trade hub, where countries from all over the world converge. Once the tariff war escalates and foreign trade declines, Guangdong's GDP will inevitably plummet. Many northern provinces rely on transfer payments from Guangdong to pay government salaries and pensions. Without Guangdong's support, many places won't even be able to pay civil servants. The data is available for verification. Guangdong's vast wealth is earned from trade with Europe and the US, with the US being the major contributor. This will have a chain reaction. Northern civil servants need to prepare for this. After Guangdong falls, will you still get your salaries?
Entrepreneur Zhao Rensong.
Now, it's important for you guys to understand. If you were to watch the liberal, excuse me, I was waiting for that bell to come. If you were to watch the liberal news media, they would make you believe that there is no effect in China. But your common sense tells you, if we don't have any manufacturing in the United States of America, and we are the base, the hub in which you sell everything into, when a tariff increases on that nation that manufactures everything, that nation's going to crumble. But the news media won't allow people to think that way because they think everybody's a damn idiot and they play everybody for fools. So when we start talking about what's truly going on with the tariffs, again, thinking from a selfish perspective, and it's opportunity everywhere. Opportunity all over the place. For you, your family, everybody. Opportunity is what I see. I don't see destruction. I see opportunity. All right. I got 10 minutes before 12 noon prayer time, so I will be back, and we'll pick up on part 2 of the tariffs. We'll pick up on part 2. We'll call this part 1. Because we want to see how it's really affecting China. And then we already seen how it's affected America. We see the investment coming back into America. I want to say it was something like $4 trillion worth of investment that came into America. And then we're going to look at the Democrats lying. I'm going to prove to you that they're lying. You're going to hear what people are saying in China. You're going to hear what they're saying. I'm going to prove to you that these are a bunch of lying bastards.